Hey everyone, welcome to Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. This podcast is all about farmers markets, how to increase your market business success while providing people with fresh food. Farmers markets are essential. Whether you're a farmers market manager or a small farmer or food maker selling at farmers markets, you have found just the right podcast. This week, we're chatting with Stuart Nealy, Director of Market Operations for Heritage Farmers Markets, about the next generation of farmers market managers. Hey everyone, I'm one of your hosts, Bridget Myers. I'm a longtime farmers market manager and education coordinator at Farmers Market Pros.
And I'm Kat Fields-White, Director of San Diego Markets, still an active farmers market manager and consultant, founder of Farmers Market Pros, and host of Intense, the Farmers Market Conference, and the Farmers Market Pros community.
And I'm Justine Marzoni-Mead, Tent Talk producer, marketing director for Farmers Market Pros, and logistics coordinator for Intense, the Farmers Market Conference.
Coming up.
Yay!
Counting down the days.
Tickets on sale now. Registration is open. And in fact, we know that Stuart will be there because he won the raffle last year and has an expense-paid registration.
Woohoo! So excited.
Yeah, it'll be great. Today's episode of Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is supported by MarketWurks, providing a single, multifaceted tool to manage your markets, schedule your farmers and vendors, create market maps, and maintain up-to-date data on attendance, space rent, sales, and more. And we know how important data is when it comes to attracting sponsors, grants, and other advantages. Give up patching together information in numerous docs and platforms and free up your time. Click the MarketWurks logo on the resource page at farmersmarketpros.com to get started today.
Well, welcome back to Tent Talk, everybody. Today we are talking with Stuart Nealy, our friend and Director of Market Operations for Heritage Farmers Markets. Heritage Farmers Markets is part of Heritage Wellness Collective, a nonprofit organization focused on fostering healthy communities in Southern California. Stuart and his team bring fresh food to Southern Californians at 3 weekly farmers markets year-round. Welcome to Tent Talk, Stuart.
Hey, thank you for having me.
It's great to see you again.
Yeah.
You had so much fun at the last year's conference.
Yes.
I know, it's been a while now.
It's been a little while, but it seems like just yesterday we were all hanging out,
That's right.
taking pictures with the cow.
Yeah, we had a really fun time at the Shore Club at the second night. We were playing cards with Sina from Minneapolis and Stuart. It was like a little mini market manager hangout sesh. It was so fun.
Party time. Love it. Really excited about this year. And like we said, we kind of raffled off a registration ticket at the conference last year before it was over. And so Stuart was our winner. And we're very excited. That means he has to come again this year, which he was going to do already, I'm sure. So excited to see you there.
Bring friends.
Yes. So, Stuart, can you just tell us a little bit about your personal and professional background and what led you to get involved with farmers markets?
Okay. My name is Stuart. I'm from Oceanside, California. I went to school for environmental design. And I got into Heritage. I feel like I've always been a part of Heritage because it's a family business. So for years, I would volunteer at, a food giveaway, or in our infancy of our nonprofit, we did a lot of community activism, and we had a lot of social programs for younger kids. So they were doing after-school summer programs on my college campus. And it was just another way for me to get in touch with the nonprofit through there. So I worked at the tutoring center, and I would give tours on the campus in terms of the library or the sustainability center, the Lyle Center at the Cal Poly campus. So I was always around Heritage. Never really thought of it as a place where I could work, because they say don't hire your family. So it was funny, after I graduated, they needed their website revamped. And so by the time I got into working their website, they had a vacancy with one of their market managers and said, hey, can you just help out for a few days? And now 3 years later, I'm still doing it.
That's awesome. So when you say it's a family business, is it your parents or aunts and uncles, or who's running it?
So cousins, actually.
Gotcha.
My cousins, Bing and Maisha, they are first cousins to my mother.
Oh, gotcha. Great.
Nice. We know how it goes with the family business and how he can just suck you in. Like, and Justine's part of our, she's not technically blood related, but we're like, hey, you want to like help us with our conference? Do you want to do a podcast? Okay, now you're running in the market every Saturday.
Right.
So
Come on in, sis.
we know how it goes. You know, trusted people. It's nice to have family. It's fine. Yeah. So who else is on your team at the market? Are you working with your cousins day to day at the market, or is there other staff there with you?
Yes. For the most part, it's been my younger cousin, Miles, but he just got accepted to Arizona State University, so he'll be leaving us. And we got to hire another market manager, Joanna. Great thing about her is that she also helped with the vendor oftentimes. So she already knows the culture of markets. She's used to coming on the Saturdays and Wednesdays that we request out of staff. So it was a seamless transition for her. So we have a pretty solid team right now. In addition to Joanna and Miles, we have Ashley, who's also part of our family as well. We're just a big family unit. And we kind of spread ourselves thin and roam in between all of the markets that we operate. So we're not really just like stationary at one.
Oh, nice. And then what's your role there? Are you like on-site market manager? Do you do vendor applications and things like that?
So I'm the on-site market manager exclusively for the Saturday market. I am at the other markets as well, but you know, Saturday's sort of my home base. It's my baby. I can't stand to not be a part of it. But I mean, as we know, market managers wear many hats. So I feel like I'm everything at times. I'm a market manager, application support, logistics manager, project manager, event planning, you know, just to name a few things.
Still keeping that website updated?
All the job things. Description like Justine's.
Yes.
Right.
Business card is long.
Well, they say, I think they said like about the millennial generation, like we'll have like 12 to 15 careers in our lifetime. So
you've got them all at once.
Exactly.
It's all happening at once right now with being a farmer's market manager.
Just
so there you
pack
go.
it all in.
Yeah.
Hashtag our job is weird.
That's right.
Right.
Well, it sounds like you have a really awesome team. And I do have to say, as being part of a family business, it is both fun and also you get to hear like a lot of like family drama, which is fun too, as someone who's not biologically related to Kat and Bridget.
It's a nice, you know, get those family secrets.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Job security.
Yeah.
So, Stuart, we want to hear a little bit more about like the way that you logistically make your markets happen. We're also based in Southern California, and we know, you know, it is very much a car culture here. And it sounds like I looked at a map of where your markets are located, and it seems like they're like pretty spread out. So how do you manage that logistically with your team? And could you speak a little bit to like how your markets differ both in geographical location and like culturally? Or is there like a different vibe based on like the different markets that you operate?
So we know that our home base is in the Inland Empire. We love San Bernardino County. We live out there. I live in Anaheim, so I'm always commuting. I drive through 3 counties every time I go to a market. But you know, the county is so wide, so we'll find ourselves in a mountain area like Crestline. We did a Crestline farmers market for years. We also are on the edge of San Bernardino County, close to LA and Chino Hills, and that's our Wednesday market that we've been operating for over 4 years. And our vendors, I mean, they drive the distance with us. They go where we go, and they grow as we grow. So they don't seem too upset about the distance between our markets. I think in actuality, they kind of view it as an opportunity to expand their business and their footprint, so they can reach out to more members of the community in the areas that we operate in.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we have farmers at our market that are driving a few hours to make it to our Saturday market. So that totally makes sense to us. How does it work for your team? You know, if you have to drive an hour or more on a Saturday morning when you have to be there before the crack of dawn, just, you know, how do you work that into your like work life?
I've always made it a point to get there early, and I do sympathize with my vendors as well, because like your vendors, I mean, they drive far to frequent our markets. You know, I have some I mean, as we know, for seasonality of farmers, if you want some variety, I mean, they might have to come from over Los Angeles. So if they can get up at 3 a.m. and make it to my markets at 7:30 on time, then why can't I? I mean, I'm there as long as they're there. If they want to tough it out with me, I mean, it's our livelihood. So, I mean, when we opened, I thought it was funny when we had the conference, we opened the LA market that was sort of same day, different time, but same day as my Chino Hills market. And I mean, we're right there with them. So in the beginning, I would have to go to LA in the morning in the heat of traffic. And then as that market closed, try to rush over to Chino Hills so that we could have a great market, for the rest of the night. And it was a long day, but I mean, it's profitable. And it's also a sense of purpose for the staff and the market vendors that, participate with us weekly. So, I mean, at times it can be tough, but, I think we're really purpose driven, and that's what keeps us in the game long term.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about that Wednesday market. You kind of have that double header. You have a morning one and an afternoon one. Do you have vendors that do both markets?
So we tried that. Traffic is unpredictable, and I don't like to show favoritism or give people certain privileges that we don't give to others. So we worked it out to where vendors kind of can focus all of their attention and their prep time and the traffic and the mishaps they may have to one market at a time. I think us having the two markets, it doesn't interfere with the other markets because they're so far apart. One market's in LA County in downtown LA, and the other one is in Chino Hills. They're at different times, so different demographics of people. And we have a large enough vendor pool where we can get the local vendors from LA to participate in the LA market. And maybe the vendors that live closer to the Chino Hills area, because we don't want to drive in traffic, they can participate closer to their houses.
Yeah, that makes way more sense. That would give me such anxiety if I was trying to zoom over and counting on all the vendors breaking down and then coming over to another market. I know that happens sometimes when there's markets happening on the same day that you don't operate. So vendors kind of do both. And so you really don't have any control there. But yeah, it's kind of makes sense to separate those two groups of vendors.
And so you have different market managers at the morning and the afternoon market on Wednesdays, right?
Yes, we were lucky enough to have one of our LA market manager lives walking distance from the market.
Oh, very nice.
So
nice.
It's a perfect scenario for her. And then our market managers that we have at our afternoon location, they can dedicate their time and effort strictly to that market and not have to worry about, closing up another market.
Nice.
That's great. Mm-hmm. I thought it was interesting that you were talking about the different markets have different demographics. And I'm sure that's very true, especially because your markets are they're kind of spread out. So how do you approach that from a marketing or vendor outreach perspective? How are you finding the right vendors for the right markets? And how are you reaching all of these different people in their different communities through marketing strategies?
I think the good thing about Heritage is that we lead with farm and food focused mantra. And so that has allowed us to sort of homogenize our marketing. I feel like in the ether of farmers markets right now, especially in the Inland Empire, Los Angeles area, there are a lot of pop-up markets and makers markets and, commercial spaces that are adopting the farmers market look. And so it confuses a lot of people. And so when we introduce ourselves into these communities, they're really appreciative that we are sticking to the traditional, blueprint of a farmer's market. And we're there to provide access to healthy fruits and vegetables. I think in terms of the different personalities of our markets, we've learned throughout the years that our afternoon markets, farm doesn't do too well. And prepared foods are, the hot ticket at that area. So we've tailored our market makeup to have a limited amount of farm vendors. As we know, I can't have a market without farmers, but, maybe I won't have 9 of them. Maybe I'll have 4. And then, my morning markets, they're abundant with farm, and that's really where people come to shop and they're looking for their produce. and they're looking for their craft and prepackaged goods, and maybe hot foods are just not the focus in the morning. So we really have to kind of gauge what the community is interested in. I think the most interesting thing that we've noticed this year, we started a number of small boutique markets. I love using the conference terminologies for the markets that we operate now. I have my flagship markets, my Saturday and my Wednesday markets. They're a little bit bigger. They're more entrenched. Everybody knows about it. And then I have these smaller boutique niche markets that are tailored to a demographic that's maybe new to us. Maybe they're a little bit unsure. And maybe they haven't established that relationship with farmers, but they're less hesitant to, get prepared food. People don't, you're open ears to a prepared food vendor, or maybe you're a little bit hesitant. You don't have the relationship with the small scale backyard farmer who's providing a product that you're unfamiliar with. So we've just been, trying to work that out and sort of mitigate how our markets are operating in the heat, because it has been extremely hot this summer. But I think the biggest thing is just letting the community know that we're there to stay. If we're there consistently, they will warm up to us and they'll start to come consistently.
So are you running more than 3 markets now?
So we've had a roller coaster this summer. So we went down to 3, then we're at 2, and now we're at 4.
Oh.
4 and soon to be 5 within a month. We're growing. The market dynamics are fluid.
Tell me the 4th and 5th ones are not on Wednesday.
No, so I've expanded the Chino Hills market, which is my Wednesday afternoon market. I got to essentially double that market size. Then we opened 2 small boutique markets on alternating Thursdays, which are really interesting. Giving a chance for vendors to not have to participate every single week. I think they really appreciate that. And then we had a switch for our Sunday market. We're switching locations. And so that sort of hibernating right now, it's on hiatus, and we will reinvigorate that market and re-add those vendors next month.
Oh, wow.
What is the onus for the move of location? Is it, do you need something bigger, or?
It was a number of things. A lot of times when you're partnering with multiple organizations, there's too many hands in a pot. It can prove difficult to sort of align all of our ideologies. And so I think Heritage has really benefited from, community partnerships and government partnerships that are hands off and just kind of let us do our own thing. We've been running markets for years. We're good at it. And we kind of go where people want us. So in our previous location, there wasn't as much support as we wanted. And so now we're kind of going to where we know our bread is buttered, which is in the community of Rancho Cucamonga. Rancho really likes us, and we really are there to support the community and provide healthy, good access to food and vegetables and entrepreneurship to that area. So we're just going where our vendors like us to be. All of our vendors say, hey, why do it in this unknown community? Go back to Rancho. We make money there. Add another day, add a Monday, a Thursday, a Wednesday. I'm like, nah.
Then we'd be a grocery store.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a really good point, though. I mean, operating a farmer's market is hard enough to then also deal with the politics of being in a place that isn't super pumped to have you there. So good luck to you in finding that new location and finding a place that feels like home.
Yeah, feels welcoming.
And is also profitable for
Yes.
farmers and vendors.
Yeah, if they want you there and they're
going
going to come shop, it sounds like a good move to make regardless. So,
yeah. And really quickly, I love what you said about the way that your marketing is kind of streamlined and just saying we're a farmer's market and we bring farmers to the streets, we bring fresh food to the community. And I think we kind of see in San Diego, too, just a lot of these pop-up vegan markets, pop-up maker markets, and pop-up dinner nighttime markets. And those are also awesome, too. It kind of makes our job a little bit easier. It more firmly establishes that we are doing what we're supposed to do because nobody else is really, I mean, besides all the other awesome farmers markets in San Diego, but it does set farmers markets aside of like, this is a place you can consistently buy fresh local produce. It is kind of nice that those other pop-ups are, just it's clear what we're doing now, and it seems like the community is picking up on that too.
Yeah, they recognize the difference a little bit. Where at first it was very confusing with pop-ups and then farmers markets. I feel like that more and more people are recognizing that there is a difference between the two.
Yeah.
So do you still do a farm box delivery service as well?
Yes. And I have stepped back from it because I do the deliveries usually on Saturdays, but since I've completely taken over the Saturday market, we have other staff do the deliveries. Now, what had started, just as a way for people to engage with the market during COVID, I mean, it kind of sprouted a life of its own, and it just kept going. Even when we stopped promoting it, we still have a good 5 to 15 boxes every week.
Oh,
of people in the local community who could theoretically come to the market, but people have busy lives, and maybe I can't always drive 10 miles out the way to visit my local farmers market. So we're grateful, number one, that it generates revenue for us and the farmers that participate, but also that the community can still engage with us in the way that they kind of seem comfortable doing.
Yeah, that's great. How do you manage that logistically? Do you put the boxes together yourself? Do you have volunteers?
So right now, we kind of had a CSA box. Then we wanted to open it up to the rest of the farmers, and just logistically, that was a nightmare. Having to run around and get things, and you're unsure if somebody brought avocados that day or if something was out of season, and we promised it on the website. So now we've dwindled it down to our most local farmer to our Saturday market. They pre-make the boxes for the most part, and then we'll add in things based on seasonality or little trinkets we find that are interesting for the market, and we'll have the delivery driver come and pick it up that day.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like a really nice benefit for those people that, sounds like you just have a few people that still want to get that delivery at home and kind of pandemic leftover routine that they built. So what a great offering for them. Yeah.
And it's just for your Saturday market?
Yeah, just for the Saturday market right now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I think a big thing that I found with the community is that they just want to support you. They get to know us, and they're like, okay, what's coming from this farmer? I like this farmer. I'm going to support them. I mean, a lot of times I don't even feel that some of them are eating the things that are in the boxes. I feel like they're giving them away to their neighbors. Giving eggs and, spreading the love throughout the community. But they continue to support us, even when I say, hey, you've been buying these boxes, come to the market. And they're like, no, I like, providing that revenue for you guys. So I'll keep doing it.
Oh, that's nice.
That's nice. It's a nice, consistent.
A Friends of the Farmers Market kind of club.
Yeah.
Get some food.
I like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're little mini sponsors.
Yeah. A little social thing for them to do, give it away. I have a neighbor who, she gets a farm box from some farm. I don't even know what it is, but then she always posts it in our little neighborhood group.
That's in the Buy Nothing group.
Yeah.
Right? I saw her the other day.
And she gives stuff away, but I've talked to her and she's like, I just want to support this farm. And so I just buy the stuff, but she's like, I'm just a single lady. I live at home. I can't possibly eat it all. So she just gives it to the neighbors. And she goes, I've made so many friends in the neighborhood, connecting over this food that I get from a local farm. And I'm like, wow, that's really nice.
A lot of win-win action going on there.
For sure.
For sure. So Stuart, you seem to us that you're sort of part of that next generation of farmers market managers, especially so for a couple of reasons. The farmers markets just came into being, got actually legal and defined in California and then throughout other parts of the country maybe 30 or 40 years ago. So I feel like there's a lot of market managers that are reaching retirement age and beyond, and then the whole pandemic thing kind of accelerated some of that. So we saw a huge, when you talk about the Great Resignation, there was a big resignation of 60-ish farmers market managers in the last couple of years.
The great early retirement.
Everywhere. Yeah, it took early retirement. They were on their way out and they just said, okay, I'm going to be done a little earlier. I'm done. So we've seen now sort of an influx of managers in their 30s and 40s, especially coming on, maybe even some really much younger managers. So you're kind of in that middle group, right? acting as a market manager in that environment, are your vendors and farmers used to an older market manager, a younger market manager? Do you kind of fit into what they're accustomed to, or are they feeling some changes?
I think when I first started, they definitely felt the change. When I was the young sprout with the clipboard, they were very nervous. Anybody who walks the market with a clipboard, you're like, are you from the state, or why are you asking me these questions? I think the vendors were very used to who they were used to. And so we never really had a person as young as I when I first started. I was in my late 20s, I would say. And we've had volunteers, but, they come and go. And so when I was there to stay and they kept seeing me, they're like, oh, okay, well, I like him. He's young. He's happy to see us all the time. I feel like with other markets, not going to name any names, but, what I hear from other market managers, they're like, you're so nice. It's like you like us. And I'm like, well, I do. And I was like, I'm young and I'm trying to infuse new ideas into the market. And they kind of felt at times that in the past, maybe, people are set in their ways. And I don't want to do anything new. If it's not broke, then why fix it? And I think young people, especially in the farmers market space, we're immersed in technology. And we naturally come with that reinvigorating energy that can sort of like excite an area. And I think brands know this, and these pop-up markets know that. That's why they come with all this new hip jazz. And so like as a young market manager, I'm able to naturally, add that in and add more community engagement and, just kind of make the market like a fun, hip place to be.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I definitely think, I can look at our own organization and tell you that things have changed for us because we've had younger members of our team come on. Not that I'm technically deficient exactly, but certainly Justine and Bridget did have to explain to me what a podcast was when we were first starting this. I knew what radio was. So it is a little bit different. And also, are you seeing maybe an influx of younger farmers and vendors when you start looking at younger staffs? Because the same thing happened in the farmer space, I think. We had older market managers. We also had really older farmers, and a lot of them are aging out. Are you seeing younger farmers coming in that might be more receptive to a younger manager recruiting them and retaining them?
I think that I informally I'm like breaking down a barrier, like an unseen barrier that you really don't think about in the market space. We like to say that the markets are ageless and that the markets are for everybody. But, when I'm meeting people that are in a similar age group as me, and they're like, man, I never thought that I could do this. I never thought that I can be in this space. And, I've ran into so many gatekeepers, that are sort of hoarding the opportunity for themselves, or maybe they're not looking at me as mature that I can handle it. And I'm like, well, I'm here. I'm here. I was able to do it. It seems more daunting than it is. And once you're in this space, you could be here. You could find yourself here for 9 years, 10 years. You can make a career out of it. And so I think that people seeing me at the market lets them know that, I could be here too. I belong here as well.
Yeah, seeing people that look like you absolutely helps. What do you see as some of the biggest challenges coming up for the future of farmers markets and farmers market managers?
I think our biggest challenge is the weather. The weather has become progressively hotter throughout the years. I think that we have a unique scenario because we're not we're not a beach city. And for the past 5 weeks, it's been 100 degrees in my Saturday market. And so it's been a challenge preaching consistency to vendors when we're all burning up, and I'm like, but look at the bigger picture, because if the community knows that we're here, they will support us. They reward you for staying consistent and continuing participation in the area. I think a big thing for the Inland Empire is just the overall excitement of markets. If more people are excited about participating at markets in the Inland Empire, then we get more vendors that are willing to drive out there. A lot of them say, oh, well, I'm already in Orange County. I'm already in LA County. San Bernardino County is too far for me. And I'm like, but it's worth it, and we have, I feel like this year we've had upwards of 15 new markets that have started in the area. And there's enough money for everybody to be profitable We just have to make it worthwhile and make it enticing enough for these communities that are already participating in several markets to make their way out to us as well.
For sure. So, our challenge, of course, and our responsibility as market managers is to keep that marketing pumped up and let people know. It's interesting, though, when you talk about the weather, because that's a nationwide, a worldwide problem right now. Weather extremes of all kinds. So it's really hot. We were just saying the other day we would rather work in a rainy market than a really hot market. It's not fun being out there in the tents. And then also the farmers are having a hard time because the weather was really cold and wet, and then all of a sudden it was really, really hot, so the crops aren't coming in as well, so it's hard to have an abundant table to fill. So it's really challenging with the weather extremes right now. You're a young market manager with new skills and new ideas. How are we going to combat this?
I think the best way to combat this is education, educating the public, letting them know the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of what it takes to be a farmer, what is available in your local environment. We still get people that come to the market and say, hey, do you have bananas? And I'm like, why would I have bananas?
We know this is audio only and not video, but everybody in this room is rolling their eyes because we've all had the banana question.
Where are the pineapples at this farmer's market in Southern California?
Coconut?
And them just understanding that it is tough it's especially tough on my farmers right now. And they might not have the variety of produce that they're looking for that week, due to climatic issues. Or maybe they need to up their price because water has, everything has risen in price in the last few months, in the last year. And that also translates to the markets. And so my vendors also need to make a living, and gas is high and they drive to these locations, and just justifying why the prices are that they are at this local level. It's sort of, I think the most important thing is the educational component to that, just getting them to understand and to empathize with us as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think, too, we're all going to have to start thinking maybe a little bit about how we deal with climate in terms of keeping the vendors and farmers and customers comfortable at markets. We should all take a field trip to Phoenix, Arizona, where the downtown market covers all of their aisles with tents so that you're not in that sun, and they've got misters that run part of the year and that kind of thing. We all may have to get a little bit more drastic and a little bit more proactive about deeling with that.
And they change their hours, too.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Aren't they open
earlier.
from like 7 till 11?
Yeah.
I would love those hours.
That would be a short market for us, which would be delightful, but probably wouldn't allow quite as many sales for their farmers and vendors. So kind of to wrap up, what would you like to see? If you could make a wish, if you could make it happen, how would you like to see your markets grow and change in the next few years? What kind of big ideas do you have?
I would like for consistency in terms of newer farmers, newer farmers and newer vendors, letting them know that it is worth it to participate. The people that are in the know, they know. And that's why they come consistently. And I think it also is a bottleneck for us at times with our markets, because if I'm only operating 4 markets and maybe I already have 60 plus vendors that participate, and these are family businesses. They participate at all of our markets for 10 years straight. It limits the opportunity for new people to get into the business. And we do want to open up these small intro level markets to let young entrepreneurs and just people who are new to the business know that this is lucrative and that this could be a long-term solution for you as well. I think if we were able to bridge the gap between what it takes for licensing, I think that's a big issue as well. It's a huge hill to tackle when you're first starting the markets. And if we can just kind of break those barriers down to where it's a seamless transition, it's a low barrier of entry for people to start markets, then it wouldn't seem like this is something that is so niche and not the conventional way of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I mean, I think the barrier to entry is still much lower at farmers markets than, for example, opening your own little produce store or restaurant or that kind of thing. But I know your counties, like our county, has experienced some really big increases in fees over the last few years. We're talking about having a whole block of information at Intense Conference next March on advocacy, and I think maybe all of us in the farmers market industry need to get a little bit more proactive about reaching out to our counties and our regulators and saying, hey, we need an entry-level thing for these new farmers and new vendors if we're going to be able to keep them and grow bigger, more long-lasting businesses, in their county, which will be to their advantage in the long run. So it's a lot to talk about. We've actually talked a lot recently about the whole idea that having year-round markets, we have vendors that stay with us for years and years, which is awesome, and farmers. But then that doesn't make it very equitable for the brand new farmers and vendors that didn't have the money or the land to be in business 10 years ago. And now how do they get into those full markets?
Or they were 10 years ago.
Right, yeah. It's a huge conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's something we need to keep talking about, and I'm glad to hear that you're on those topics as well, Stuart. Anything we didn't ask you that we should have?
No, I think we've covered all the bases. I appreciate, all of you for, welcoming me into the farmers market family. I really appreciated the conference because it let me know that there were people out there that were experiencing the same things as me and that we're kind of all in the same boat. It also legitimizes farmers markets. When I tell people that I went to a conference, they're like, oh man, that's a real job. And I'm like, yes. Yeah.
Right? Boy, is that familiar. Yeah. Wait, you're a market manager. What do you have to do to manage them? They don't just happen, right? Again, I love that. Hashtag farmers markets don't
You're
just
like,
happen.
I have a name tag that says the conference on it.
Yeah, that might have been one of the reasons we started the conference, so we can show people it's a real business.
It's a real
job. And it is nice, I think. I agree, Stuart. It's nice to get in a room with people who just understand when you're like, there's dogs at the market, or how do you get your banners printed, or what do you do about towing cars? It's like, I can't talk to my friends about those things. So just getting everybody together and having those shared experiences has just been really fantastic. And it was so fun to hang out with you at the conference and just talk to you about your markets. And
then to see you and your family at one of our markets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
It's like my mom sees you guys more than me.
Yeah. She did come by the info booth and I was like, I know all about you. Stuart was bragging about you the whole week.
Oh, nice. Perfect.
So sweet.
Yeah. And I do want to give a shout out to my neighboring markets in the Inland Empire. We're all fighting the same struggles. We're all, trying to provide a space for local entrepreneurship and just community space. I think that the more that we come together, it'll just be more sources of outreach and revenue for our vendors that frequent all of our markets. It makes it worthwhile for everybody if we kind of participate and sort of homogenize and there's no division between us. I'm often finding myself toting and bragging about other markets outside of our organization just to let people know, like, hey, even if it doesn't work here, maybe I'm full at these markets, but you could go to the San Dimas market, or you can go to the Pomona market, or you can go to the Upland market, or you can go to the Fontana market, you can go to the Riverside market. It's like once you get in the market, this is worth it, just letting them know that we have this interconnected web where we're all connected and we're in it to win it,
Yeah.
Our market owner, he has a slogan that he says all the time, and he's like, this is how we win, and I think that is something that it sticks with me every day. This is how we win. This is how we win, and I kind of whisper that to myself when things are going great and when they're not going as great as I want them to.
Yeah, that's when it's even more important to think about it. Working together, what we want to do is convince people that this is where you come to buy your groceries, not to big box stores that are importing things. So we're all on the same team in that mission, whether it's your neighboring market or it's your own market. Let's stick together and spread the word.
Cultivate those market shoppers.
That's how we win it, Stuart.
That's how we win it.
Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Stuart.
All right. Yeah, I'll see you soon.
We'll see you in March, if not before.
Bye.
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 Thanks for listening today. And big thanks to MarketWurks for helping farmers market managers by putting all of the tools to succeed in one place. And for supporting Tent Talk, the farmers market podcast, and Intense, the multinational farmers market conference. Find more information and sign up by clicking the MarketWurks logo on the resource page at farmersmarketpros.com.
Farmers markets are all about connection, and all of us, operators, farmers, and vendors, keep learning. Connect with people just like you from various parts of the country and share what's happening in your area in the terrific conversations over in our private Facebook group, the Farmers Market Pros Community. If you're actively involved in a farmers market, please find us there, answer the 3 qualifying questions, and join the group. You can also message us on Instagram at Farmers Market Pros or email us at connect@farmersmarketpros.com. If you're looking for further education, check out our online course offerings at farmersmarketpros.com. Thanks for listening to Tent Talk. Please leave us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you access your podcasts, and tell us and others how you're enjoying Tent Talk. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss the next episode. Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is proudly produced by Farmers Market Pros, where passion meets profit. Today's episode was recorded and edited by Justine Marzoni-Mead. Original music by David Mead. Thank you so much for listening today, and we'll have another great episode next week, so tune in.